Well, that's a good start. At least I've seen the 30-second countdown today, so I know when I'm due to start. Good evening, everyone. This is, I guess, the second week into the Netflix era. It's been an interesting one. But yeah, we're here to talk about it. But returning from last week, we've managed to keep him around, which is good. Hamza, how are you?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Just keeping up with the daily grind, trying to squeeze in wrestling when possible. Any wrestling fan knows when you split between promotions, there's not enough time to keep up with everything, and it's impossible, like on a week-to-week basis. The Netflix era has not changed that, so I'm sure we've all got little dribs and drabs, little infinity gems of the wider wrestling landscape. But that's what we're here to talk about and figure out what's going on. How about yourself? How have you been, Sam?
Yeah, all good. I don't really know where I'm at in terms of everything because I have seen so much this week, but also it feels at the same time so little. I watched Collision for the first time this week, which was mad. I've also watched most of Raw, 2 parts of SmackDown, all of NXT, and I don't really know what I'm thinking anymore in terms of wrestling. I've watched so much. But we do have a surprise third entrance to the stream. Devon, how are you doing?
I'm doing a lot better this week.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's really
got
good
my coffee. I haven't watched any of the wrestling this week. But I'm here. And I do gotta say one thing before we get started. And it's something I wasn't upset about, but now I am. And you guys may not understand this because you're in the UK. But TikTok was just banned. And I didn't care. Because I barely post on TikTok. It's like one of those things. I'm never on it. I'm 34. But CapCut was recently banned as well. And that is the main thing I use for editing. What the hell? Why was that banned? Like, can we get this issue resolved as quickly as possible, please? Like, I have to find a new video editing software now. Like, this is messed up. I had like a bunch of plans to make new videos. I just sent you the message yesterday.
Why is CapCut gone?
I don't know. I guess it's also a Chinese company or something. I don't know. Like, it's my favorite video editing software.
The easiest as well. Like, I don't really know how to video edit at all, but I told work that to put a series of videos together, I've got a thing called CapCut that Kyle told me to do, and literally did it there and then, and I'd never used the app before. So that shows
you guys still may have it because you're in the UK. I think this is just banned in the US.
Yeah, I think I've still got it because it's got a little like new 2025 banner above the logo.
So I gotta find a new video editing software, or I gotta get a British editor. So
it's an interesting one, though, isn't it? Because like the more I look into it, the more it is just a battle between two countries who are going against each other for who's the best in technological advances, or however you call it, in a bidding war to get this. Like, that's literally it.
I mean, without going too far into it, I believe it's because like when you own companies in China, like you don't really own the company. The Chinese government owns the company. Like you pay, if you don't pay the Chinese government the money that they're asking you to pay them, we have a lot of Chinese billionaires that go randomly missing. But in America, that just doesn't happen. Billionaires pretty much get to run free, do whatever they want to do. It's cool. So it's like their information getting leaked to American companies, it's whatever, because it's like it doesn't matter. But when information goes to some of these Chinese companies, it kind of goes directly to the Chinese government, and the American government doesn't want that. And I understand that premise, but at the same time, it's annoying because, like, what are they really doing with this information anyway? They're going to learn that Americans have the dumbest habits of all time. Everybody stays in their house all day and films these TikTok videos or something. They're not going to really learn anything prevalent from that they couldn't have just learned from just watching the TikToks in the first place. Like, we're not doing nothing crazy. I mean, maybe people are like going on TikTok and then on the personal time going on some crazy websites, but like, I don't know. I could figure we all assumed people were doing that anyway. I don't know. I'm just upset about the whole situation. So yeah,
just to rub it in a tiny bit.
Oh my God! Look at you.
This is what you could have.
Look at you loving it.
I don't even use it, but I'm telling you, this is what you could have had.
Oh my God! You're gonna have to edit my videos now. Thanks a lot, Sam.
Look, they will not be in a watchable state at all.
I'll send you 20 pounds, whatever that equates to. Is that like $20?
Nah, £20 is $25, isn't it?
25 would be like, yeah.
Ah, that's fine. That works. No, seriously, I'm pissed.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it'll get resolved soon. It'll just be some
Fingers crossed.
An exchange of money, I'm sure. You say that you haven't seen any wrestling, but you've come to the right place. You'll now know what's happened in this wrestling, I hope. So, of course, we started off the week even with Raw. We had this discussion last week that we didn't know if it could live up to that hype as it did the first week. We'll find out a review at the end. I'm not going to give you the what I thought of it until yeah. So basically, we're in the season of the Royal Rumble. So that means that every single person and their dog is now registering themselves for the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
If it carries on at this rate, we won't have any entrance for anybody else. But we did get CM Punk starting the show. He said that he's joining Cena in the Rumble. Seth interrupts and reveals that he will be too, and he would end Punk's Mania streams. Drew comes out and calls both of them self-serving mirror images of each other, which when I gave better thought, they are really similar. When they're kind
of CM Punk and what's this, Seth?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I can see it.
He then goes on to call Seth a fake leader, but Punk then has had enough and challenged both men to throw hands. Drew then announces that he will be entering the Rumble too. This was an odd one. I'm going to pass it over to Humza first. Obviously, it's a way to add excitement to the Rumble, but could this have been done in a different way, or was it good as the way it was?
I mean, honestly, I think it was a bit too... I prefer more spontaneity when it comes to a Royal Rumble. I think a lot of this whole proclamation, I think you could do it a few times with a few people. Like, oh yeah, I'm going to be in a Rumble or something. Like for Cena, it's a big deal. He just came back. But to have everyone who's just on the main roster who you expect to see in the Rumble come up and say,
I'm going to be in the Rumble. Like, yeah, of course you are.
It diminishes the overall principle. So I don't know. I thought, like it was interesting, some of the talent that they got to do it. But I thought that really just took over like the Raw, and I get it. But I think it made the second week on Netflix a little bit weaker because it's once you've seen it the first time, it's got more impact. As soon as it happens the second and the third and the fourth, the overtones just gets more diluted. So, yeah.
I would also say, wouldn't have maybe? I feel like it would have got a bigger pop if Cena was a surprise entrant in the Rumble. Like if he
the same could have been said for Penta instead of leaking his merch, and show up on a Rumble, do a few spots, hit a sling blade, hit a Mexican destroyer.
Oh yeah,
blow the roof off the arena. You know, I've got no idea what they're doing this Rumble. Very, very different approach.
Yeah, it is. Every year I call for the more. Obviously, like we mentioned last week, we're not going to have the Rumbles where lots of random people just turn up because of the power of social media. But it's nice to have a few things. And if we get one or two now, it's kind of exciting. But at this point, the greatest Royal Rumble will have to be plus 10 more. Like, we'll have to have 50 entrants, which will be wild. It sounds like a great idea. But
I mean, technically, aren't we already doing two Rumbles with the women's and the men's?
Mm-hmm.
So that's 60 right there.
That's 60, yeah. But even the women's one, you're kind of picking out your surprise entrances for me, or just be NXT call-ups. Like, I can't see any massive differences in that. So obviously with news that we've got later on, that might change a little bit. But yeah, it's interesting. We'll obviously see how that happens. Obviously next up, funny you both mentioned Penta. He was obviously next up. It was quite funny listening to Michael Cole calling it the worst kept secret ever as soon as he came out. But yeah, obviously he came in. For me, it was an exciting style of lucha libre wrestling that I don't think we've ever seen. Well, I certainly haven't seen in WWE. The moves were inventive. When you expected him to do one thing, he did the complete opposite. I do think, though, the only thing that kind of went wrong is when he dived over the top rope. I don't think that's on him. I think that's on Chad Gable, because if he'd have moved just slightly to the right, he would have actually connected him rather than missing him completely. If you haven't managed to check it out, Devon, you need to go back and see his sacrifice arm breaker. Literally,
I got to take a look.
Break the person's arm into two. It's amazing. I think it goes without saying as well, everybody be talking about Penta, but obviously Chad Gable deserves some credit too, because without him, everybody would still be talking about Penta, but I don't think they'd be talking about him in the way that they are. And then I've just put kind of a plea at the bottom. Please do the right things with him. Please try your absolute best to do the right things, because I think this is one of the most exciting things to happen in a very long time, just from that one match. So, yeah, I'm just keeping everything crossed. Obviously, Humza, you kind of knew what, out of all of us, what to expect. Obviously, I've seen him a little bit on AEW, but there I don't think he was able to stand out, because obviously that whatever their tag team division is, there's so many. So yeah, I guess it was nothing that you hadn't already seen, or were you surprised?
It was a bit different. The presentation was completely different. They treated him like a big deal. I don't know if it's a flavor of the month trying to get over with the Latin crowd, because WWE are known for when certain demographics spike, boom, Jinder Mahal becomes WWE champion because India's going massive on YouTube. These things happen, but I think in the case of Penta, I've seen him on Lucha Underground, I've seen him in TNA, I've seen him solo, I've seen him in a tag team, seen a bunch of what he's got to offer, but the presentation and the feel was different, and I put a lot of that on Chad Gable. I think he really brought out the best match possible, and to a WWE crowd, they haven't seen a lot of the stuff that Penta is known for, so it's kind of just introducing some of that flavor to a different audience, a wider audience. And I thought the promo was great too. I thought he was actually able to connect with the wider audience more than he was able to in the entire AEW run. So it's good to see him get his flowers, and hopefully they keep it up.
Yeah, I'm going to bounce off what you just said. I believe right now that they're promoting him to the more like Hispanic and Latino audience. And I have a feeling I would almost put money on this that within the next month he will be tag team partner with Rey Mysterio. Like that's just what they do to like a lot of these Latino wrestlers. For some reason, somewhere down the line, they're gonna join the LWO and get tag team with Rey Mysterio. Yeah, it's hard, but it's just what they do for some reason. Um, hopefully they give him something different, give him a different path. But I already see the writing on the wall with him being a masked wrestler, especially, and again, his heritage. So it's going to be one of those things where hopefully he can break apart and be more than just that, be more than just a Hispanic wrestler, be just like a wrestler who just so happened to have Latino heritage. But it's WWE and they play off a lot of stereotypes because they know their demographics a little bit more. And I guess it just works for them. But I do still feel like this is a good opportunity to kind of do something different, especially with new leadership up there. Like, got a chance to do something really cool.
There's got to be someone in the background, surely, just saying this is not something we ever had before. Right, what can we do different? Surely these people get paid lots and lots of money. They don't sit in their own houses going on YouTube just telling people what they think. They genuinely get lots of money to make sure this thing works. So I would be bitterly disappointed if that happens. But obviously, I do get where you're coming from. Because in all fairness, it's getting to a point now where Rey Mysterio got a massive pop when he came on SmackDown, but he's in the latter end of his career. Yep. So yes, that would be probably a really good thing for him to go out with maybe and kind of pass that torch across or that sort of thing. But I would rather that in a match than them just suddenly become a tag team.
Yeah.
But obviously we'll see. We'll see about that one. But yeah, it's one of those interesting things, and obviously time will tell. But surely someone's got to be saying, right, this is where we can cash in big and maybe get people back in that haven't watched wrestling in a while because they'll be watching.
I mean, I think a U.S. title run or something would be a really cool idea, especially since like right now, like I can't even remember who the U.S. champion is. But I feel like that'll be a good title run for him. Or I guess if you want to specifically make it to Raw, at least have him go into some type of intercontinental feud with Braun Breaker or something. Like, I just feel like even if he isn't set up to win it, just having them have good competitions against each other, where it's like two, great wrestlers with relatively big names to them who would help each other both get bigger in a sense, no matter who wins. You can have an exhibition match and then Penta wins, and then you can have an actual championship match where Breaker wins, retains the title, but then they have a great match and put themselves both over.
You can just see the headline on that in a couple of weeks' time, Raw, can't you? Where they've miraculously made a new title and they're going to have a Lucha Libre.
Oh no!
Woman where they're going to give an inaugural title, and they're just going to go to I don't know.
The Luchador. They're going to bring back the cruiserweight title just to give it to him.
Yeah, they go around like searching the world for the best Lucha Libre wrestlers, bring them in for like one Raw, and then give them the title.
The masked wrestler title.
Honestly, I really wish that I fully believed that was a joke, but I actually don't. So we had next up, we had obviously a story that's been building for quite a while. We had Sheamus and Ludwig Kaiser. I thought amongst all of this stuff, it's quite a. Although the storyline's been going on for a while, amongst all this stuff that they've got planned at the moment, it's really hard for matches in the middle to kind of take spotlight and have a really good match. But I did think it was really good. Sheamus ended up winning. Obviously, a great story between them both. I put hope to see more at the time, but actually, I'm really not sure about that. But we shall see. Then there was a little bit of a soap opera part when Dominic Mysterio came in with a bunch of flowers and said to Liv Morgan, "I'm really sorry. You're not mad at me, are you?" And her response was, "Oh, no, I'm not bad. But make sure," it was along the lines of, "make sure that the ballet's ready for us to go." And basically, she, as the kids would say, she's just being sassy AF. So, yeah, that was that part. Obviously, the crack started to show in that relationship, or the screen relationship, as we call it. Then the next bit, which was rather bizarre, Karrion Kross kind of confronted The Miz and informed him that the Wyatt Six have now been moved to SmackDown. Obviously, we haven't seen them for a little bit. They were due to have a match this week, but now they've miraculously moved to SmackDown. He kept saying "my wife" a lot. So it was like, "You scared my wife," and all this. So, yeah. I don't really know what happens next for them. Some people were saying that it might be them writing them out of the story altogether, and I was like, well, that's not going to happen. Hamza, what are your thoughts on that? It's a bizarre one.
I've got no thoughts on that storyline currently. I've got no idea what they're planning. Yeah, I'm just waiting to see how it plays out. Just seems like an afterthought of theirs, so it's an afterthought of mine, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
It's a storyline that had so much promise, and I think at the start they got massive hype around it, so they thought this is great. Then all of a sudden, somebody in the top just went, right, we've really got to rush this forward now. So I think in that it brought excitement and then killed the excitement. They went back on again and started wrestling. There's a little bit more excitement, and then they've disappeared. So I don't know what happened. I don't know if they're going to have the same effect if they randomly come out. I don't know. That's one of those ones. I guess time will tell. Miz and Sami Zayn now had falling out, which leads them to have a match a little bit later on. So this is when we start leading to the build for, I want to say Friday night's main event, but it's not. It's Saturday night's main event, isn't it? We've got another one of those, even though we're just removed from the last one. So as Gunther came out, he didn't really say much. Jey Uso then came out and issued a challenge for his title at Saturday night's main event, which is on January 25th. So that will be next Saturday. This was an odd one because it was just a kind of no build to this story. It was just kind of a match made. So I guess we'll happily move on from that one. So next up, we had the match for the inaugural Women's Intercontinental title. So I really enjoyed this match. I'm really happy with the result. So it was Lyra versus Dakota. I'm really happy that the title was given to Lyra because as I saw these new titles, my first hope was that it would be people that need more of the spotlight and deserve to be there, but are not ready in their eyes to go into the main picture so they can kind of wrestle and prove their way up to that main picture. So I'm really happy with this. Obviously, no bias at all coming up from NXT. But yeah, I do think that was the right result because I think Dakota is a little bit higher up the thinking than Lyra. So I was really happy with that one. Then there was the match between Sami Zayn and The Miz, which is obviously born off the promo earlier. It was a brief back and forth match where Sammy picked up the win. I do kind of think it was just a way to get them both on the card, though nothing more than that.
Sounds about right. Like,
yeah,
I love
I guess,
Sami Zayn, but I feel like sometimes they just don't be having like a real plan for him as much as they should. Like, as good as he is, like, it feels like sometimes he's just there and they're just like, all right, well, what can we do with you right this week? I don't
think
know.
that's been his whole career, to be honest. Like,
yeah.
A few bright spots here and there. Like, yeah, that's just how he's booked. It's unfortunate. He's a great talent.
Yeah. Even when he was Intercontinental Champion, I was just like, okay, that's cool. You know, then they had him fight like the same like 2 or 3 people when you were like, all right, I feel like I just know they're gonna have him drop this to Braun Breaker. Yeah, you know, it just kind of sucks. But just bad timing, I guess.
Yeah, I guess they've, to kind of think what they might be thinking a little bit, they've kind of tried him in so many different things and have never really found that thing that he's really good at in their eyes. So they've kind of tried him in everything. So I imagine they're sitting there thinking, right, what haven't we done with him? And what do we do next? But I guess it's one of those, isn't it? Like, I still think he does really well because of his mic work. His mic work's always been really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, again, it's one of those people that falls into just WWE's web and then kind of floats through their career and then it kind of goes. Rhea's promo was next up. Again, this is a little bit like the start of the show when I think about it. So Rhea comes out and does the whole back on top thing. Nia then interrupts and vowed to win the Rumble, which I really hope and pray doesn't happen. She then insults Bayley, who kind of comes down and says, well, say it to my face. Jax attacks her, then headbutts Rhea, only to get a knee from Bayley and a kick from Rhea for her to terribly throw herself out of the ring. Bayley and Rhea, maybe, because there's an interesting fact that I found out that Bayley is the only one out of the original 4 horsewomen in NXT that she hasn't faced and beaten at WrestleMania. So that's a story they could run with. Not say I'd be massively happy if they did. They have a story arc there. But yeah, that led us on to the main event. The street fight between Damian Priest and Finn Balor. So overall, I enjoyed this match because we hear the stipulation street fight or whatever that may be on weekly shows, and we kind of think to yourself, right, so basically they get us really excited and then nothing really happens right to the end, and we've seen it before already. But actually, I think this is a little bit different. So Priest and Finn were kind of both hanging off the stands. Priest kind of manages to somehow pull off a broken arrow, and they go through 2 tables. Balor's put on a stretcher, but obviously stretchers mean nothing in professional wrestling. So Priest goes back, gets hold of him, and then in a comedy moment kind of just rolls him down to the ring, where he just pushes it from the top of the ramp down, and then it worked perfectly because as he pushed him down, Finn was just then able to just roll into the ring. It was great. But obviously, in true fashion, Carlito and JD McDonough got involved. Balor managed to recover because they lifted him up onto the ropes so he could hit the coup de grace, and he was absolutely fine. But then the War Raiders came out, which kind of goes on to what Jordan said last week. They came in and looked absolutely savage and then left again. They didn't even have the titles with them. They just ran down. So if you was, I guess what I was trying to think, if you were somebody that hadn't watched, you'd watched the first one, they weren't in it, and they maybe got a shot in the crowd. I don't know. Did they get a shot in the crowd?
Yeah, I think they did. Yeah.
But yeah, if you're somebody that hasn't been keeping up with it or know what's going on, you might not even know. You'd thought, who's these guys? You might not even know they're tag team champs. So, yeah, that's something they obviously need to do better at. Priest, with a chair wrapped around his head, then delivered a South of Heaven, but only got to a 2. Balor then put Priest through a table, and then Priest put him through the timekeeper's area. So this is when it get to the end of the match. It was going a little bit nuts. Priest then hit the Razor's Edge through a table and the South of Heaven, which earned Dominic Priest. I've done it again. Damian Priest, the win. Great ending. So I guess I'm going to come to you first before I give my thoughts. What was your overall thoughts based on what we saw last week to this week?
As a whole, or are we talking about the
just as a whole? Yeah.
I felt like last week felt more of a resolution of like a certain like of an era or of like a bunch of angles that were going on. This week kind of feels like the after party of that is like, oh, here's a bunch of other stuff that we need to do before we fully get going. And, you know, it's the Rumble and they start all of the heavy marketing that comes along with that. And obviously with the new eyes. But specifically with like the Priest and Balor match, I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was, you knew what you were going to get, but it still over-delivered in a different way. But I think that's just when you put two great workers together and you just let them do something, it can be magic. But I've got no real, like a bunch of, I'd say the weekend wrestling in general, and this goes like across all companies, just feels a bit more spliced together than I'm usually happy with. Like, you kind of like get this whiplash when you go from like one angle into the next, that it's like they're tonally completely different. So I don't know. I felt that more this week than I did with last week, at least on Raw. What do you think about it?
Sorry, I got a call from my mother.
That's not good.
What was the question?
Obviously, you didn't see Raw, so you won't be able to answer my question. Just basically asked what the overall thoughts was compared to obviously last week. I still think it was good. Obviously, I knew that it wasn't going to be the level of the first one.
Mm-hmm.
I still think it was watchable. I did watch most of it. There was bits that I kind of dipped in and out of. But in comparison to SmackDown and NXT, I did think the show was really, really good. So it's one of those ones, isn't it? Like, they've still got an awful lot that they haven't really like told people that haven't watched it in a while. So they've got lots of space to make it better. But yeah, I do really hope, like we said last week, I do really hope that they don't now take the foot off the gas between now and the Rumble. But we shall see. We shall see. There's at least 6 or 7 that have said they're definitely confirmed now. So that's just a guess off the top of my head. So yeah, I'm going to take a weird order, skip out NXT for now and go to SmackDown. Because I've seen so much wrestling this week, I got to yesterday, or no, not yesterday, day before yesterday, SmackDown Day, and I thought to myself, right, I thought TNA Genesis was on last night, but it wasn't. It's on tonight. I knew that I had a collision to watch because that was kind of a big collision because it had one title match on and then a Texas Death Match. My cat is at the door. we go. Enter. So yeah, I kind of cheated a little bit with SmackDown this week. Found out what many websites told that was good about the show. Went back and watched those bits, and then filled in the rest with reading about it. So my notes may sound like I've taken it directly from a website, because most of it I probably have. But Rey Mysterio started the show, and shock horror, he announced that he'll be in the Royal Rumble as well. It does get a little bit less from here. Kevin Owens then comes in, and I found this quite funny. I don't know if I found it funny in a good way or funny in a bad way, because obviously he's got the title that he claims to be the rightful owner of. He basically said to Rey Mysterio something along the lines of, if you end up winning the Royal Rumble, you can challenge for the title that I have. And Rey Mysterio went, well, I think you're a little bit delusional. You haven't got a title at all. So it's a little bit like kind of, I don't know, if you put a comedy song over the top of it, it probably would have made a lot more sense. But yeah, he then said that he was starting to act like Dominic Mysterio, and obviously that caused a fight. Maybe that's a match down the line, but I can't say I'm very excited about it if so. But yeah, that was what started the show. There was then a tag match, which again, in many formats, seems like we've seen this every week on SmackDown for probably like half a year. So this time it was Bianca Belair and Naomi against Jax. Oh my God, this is good, because my notes I now says Belair and Naomi defeat Jax and Belair. So Belair was on both sides. But I'm guessing it was Bella and Naomi, Jax and someone else, but I'm not going to fill in the blanks. Then we had probably the second most interesting part of the night, which I'm going to use my other news story at the same time. So Jimmy Uso and Carmelo Hayes were having a match. Jimmy Uso wins by disqualification because the Bloodline get involved. Initially, I put give it a rest with Bloodline interference, because that's, again, what we see on every SmackDown for a very long time. But there was more. So, in the arena, there was lots of booing. Tama Tonga trying to grab the microphone and said, don't boo. They carried on booing.
This is something you may only understand, but like, why does that remind me of Greg Popovich? Saying, "Don't boo him."
He stood. So obviously it was really good, because at the time I was thinking, "Oh, this is fantastic! Like they're going to be bringing him into more storylines and stuff." Which again, that brings me on to my next bit of breaking news as well today. So he said, I'm going to pass it over to Solo now, but don't boo. So they obviously carried on booing. And Solo just looks at the mic, looks like he's going to speak, and then just drops it and walks out. Tama Tonga then comes on the microphone and says lots of different things. Basically responded to people saying, "Oh, he's absolutely crazy," and also he kind of played into that, which was great. He then said, "I am just getting started." So obviously, this is both what you and Jordan called for last week, and it's kind of manifested to this week. And out comes Braun Strowman for the first time since obviously he was taken out by them. Which I've got two bits of other news in in that match has been made for Saturday night's main event, which I'm really excited for. Again, with the hope that they do it right. But the other bit was that plans were scrapped, and Solo was meant to start the show addressing his future and his loss, but that changed, and they got put after a Carmelo Hayes and Jimmy Uso match. So that was interesting. It felt like a bit of a mess, though, don't you think, Humza?
Yeah. To add to that, I mean, honestly, I don't really get where they were going with that. It just seemed like a randomly strung match together. And about the whole Braun Strowman thing as well. I mean, I get why they would do it, but personally, it doesn't really tick the boxes for me being the guy to make much of an impact in this whole thing. But it's another thing. It's like we're approaching Royal Rumble season. They're like, here's another guy that you forgot about for a bunch of time, and we're bringing him out before the Rumble. It just feels a bit wasted and a bit directionless. The Carmelo Uso match, yeah, it's pretty nothing as far as I'm concerned. I don't really think anything developed from it. What do you think was the biggest flaw of the match?
So I guess from what you've just said, it kind of leads on. Wouldn't it have been better? I've just had that random thought when you said it. Wouldn't it have been better to put Tama Tonga into the Rumble and then at number 30 bring out Braun Strowman as well, and have two massive guys be in the Rumble that they've all got to obviously band together and take them out. But obviously, yeah, that would have been so much better when I never thought about it like that.
I think over the past few years, they've just been really using the Rumble to set up plots going towards WrestleMania instead of integrating plots and rivalries and feuds that are already happening that they've done in previous iterations. If they just did more of that and just built it in that kind of structured storyline way instead of just here's a bunch of guys that, this person eliminated this person, now they're going to beef at WrestleMania like they've been doing for the past couple of years. I just think you'd get more output, and instead of just saying, all right, here's everyone we've got right now. Most of these guys are going to be in the Royal Rumble, but if we just waited a few weeks, could have gotten a way bigger, just way bigger response, more energy.
Yeah, that would have got a huge pop, I would imagine. That would have been one that I'd be well behind if they'd have done that. But obviously, they can't do that anymore. So I've lost my position in my notes. I will go back down to SmackDown. So then we had, by far, my favourite moment of the night. We had a tag match between Los Garzas and Motor City Machine Guns. So, again, I've been brutally honest. For somebody that would normally skip tag team matches, especially on weekly shows, because most of the time they never become of anything. I'm really pleased that when reading about this show, that I was told this was the best thing that happened.
It was great.
Obviously, I know full well what Motor City Machine Guns can do. I've been singing their praises since they've come in. But this was kind of my first watch and just sit down watch of Los Garzas. So I was really, really pleased that we had two tag teams that were a little bit different from anything else that they've got. So I'm certainly excited and hope that they do this one again. So you had a couple of moments that was really good. The overall pacing of the match was really good because normally you get parts of a tag team match that are really fast paced and you can't take your eyes off it. And then you get that kind of bit in the middle where you're just kind of fighting for who's going to take over. Then you get that really fast end. But it was weird watching this match because it had that fast pace the whole time. So you literally could not take your eyes off it. Kip Sabian hit a suicide dive through the middle rope that looked really cool, which obviously, as you think about it, that can go very, very wrong. So to pull it off like he did was incredible. So obviously, Motor City Machine Guns won. But like I said, I do hope to see more matches between them in the future. If I was to tell you, Devon, to go and watch any moment from this week's wrestling, and it would be that match. Like, so good. So
Okay.
good. We then had a couple of filler moments in that Piper Niven fought B-Fab, where Piper Niven won that one. And then we had what we had earlier. We had Rey Mysterio and Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens won. I don't think there was really much else to go on there. It was weird though, because as I think about it now, it's almost like it made the first part of the match, the first part of SmackDown, completely useless, because it was such like a nothing match that it was like, well, you didn't really need that in the first place. If you were gonna, I don't know. It's again like it's leading into this conversation of 3 hours of SmackDown. I don't think they need to do it. Because I think they really struggled with the 2 hours to keep everyone like massively engaged in the whole thing. So they've added an hour on top, and now, they've got even bigger problems because they're like, right, we've got an extra hour to fill now. What are your thoughts on that, Hans? Before we go to the main event, it's one I think you're having for many weeks until something's changes. I don't know what it is.
I think SmackDown is the biggest incoherent mess it's been in a long time currently. The extra hour does not help. They don't have enough going on that show to justify it. And if we go back to what we've been talking about the whole time, it just keeps popping up because it's Rumble season. Imagine announcing, oh yeah, Charlotte Flair, she's on her way back. When you got a women's Royal Rumble coming up, what's going on here? What's going on? Come on. But yeah, I just think, Raw, I'm definitely more behind. I can kind of follow the overall plot that's going on. SmackDown is losing me every week. It's a complete just random splicing of stuff together. I mean, you get a standout moment like once per show, like a Motor City's Machine Gun match, and you're like, okay, cool. I saw the one good thing SmackDown has to offer this week, and that's all. Like SmackDown's only got like 1 or 2 pocket moments, whereas Raw is a lot more of like a combined thing. I don't know what's going on with the booking of that, but I'd say shorten it up, clean it up. It shouldn't be that deep. But yeah, back over to you.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's been the state of it for quite a while, though, hasn't it? It's been the state of this kind of, we really want to try and make SmackDown compete with Raw, but they've never been able to do that for a very long time. Like the only time, I think you can go even back to like when I was in secondary school. That was when they were somewhat equal, I think. Even though Raw still took the top seat, they were both at a point where they were watchable. SmackDown hasn't been that way, unfortunately, for a long time.
I gotta say, as somebody who watched it, like I remember watching like the first season of SmackDown. Like SmackDown used to be so comparable to Raw when it first started, and they had like the SmackDown 6, and everybody knows that. But even after that, when they went into like the JBL era, and he was literally like the best world champ, like best heel world champ on the card, like that includes anybody on Raw, Triple H probably, because it's probably was him. But he did a better version of what people wanted the heel champ to be like. Like he was so good that, you know, politicians nowadays act like how he did on the show in real life. That's how influential and good he was at doing that. John Cena, the whole John Cena thing started on SmackDown. Like his whole thing where his character evolved and became who he is today was because of SmackDown. You know, we got so many people like Edge and everybody else off of like becoming superstars from that program. And now it's like, dang, I'm sad to where it's become, because it literally was where people were made. Like Rey Mysterio, like as much as great as he was in WCW, most people only know him because of SmackDown. You know, Kurt Angle, most people know him because of the things he did on SmackDown. Those matches on SmackDown every week, people were waiting to tune in to SmackDown to get this, you know, and obviously Raw carried more storyline oriented things. But as far as like the actual wrestling and matches, people knew that SmackDown was the place to go. And now I'm really upset about the fact that it's not seen in that light anymore.
Yeah, it's one of those ones. As you have just said that, I wondered what that might have been. Obviously, in recent times, we've had this kind of the draft. We've had the new transfer window, as they call it. But back when, so I guess my question is, back when it started, when you were mentioning, was there a clear split between this person is on SmackDown and only SmackDown, this person is on Raw and only Raw? Because I think
when I first started watching it and they were first doing the whole SmackDown versus Raw, literally you never saw SmackDown people on Raw or vice versa. Like I remember growing up and barely ever seeing any Triple H matches because I didn't have cable and I only saw Raw. And unless Triple H was on SmackDown, especially like after the full brand split, like maybe the first season, it was a little bit different because they had people going back and forth. Like, you know, Triple H was on SmackDown. It was like, you know, they had different things that carried over. But once they did like the full, like, okay, this is like an actual brand split, like SmackDown is SmackDown and we're competing against Raw. At that point, it was like you never saw SmackDown people on Raw and vice versa. You know, once it became like a full brand, like full on brand split versus just two different sides of the same brand. So I would say like 2001, if like to like 2006 or 2007, you literally only saw SmackDown people on SmackDown. So it definitely had that dividing border and it helped people establish who was more to what brand at all times.
I've just had a random thought. How cool would this be? Nick Aldis and whoever else is in charge of each brand sat in front of a computer screen, loaded up my GM, had a limit to what they could spend. They each picked a roster, and that's what they had to stick with. I think that would be fantastic. I'd definitely be behind that. But yeah, it's kind of fantasy thinking again. But yeah, moving on swiftly to the main event, which I won't go over that much. It was slightly better than your normal championship match that is on Raw or SmackDown. Bayley, even though she lost, still looked really strong. Tiffany did full John Cena, where she got absolutely battered for 90%, and then in the last 5 minutes found another gear and picked up the win. I am intrigued to see where Roxanne Perez and Bayley goes, though, because at the end of NXT, Roxanne Perez is obviously addressing the future now. She's lost the title. Bayley came out, and they kind of had a falling out. So I do think that could be a good way for them to have a match down the line. But again, I'm going with the trend that we've done. Wouldn't have that been better to have in the Women's Rumble? But there we go. I suppose they've got to add some stories to in the meantime. But I think I've kind of said what I wrote as overall kind of views. So I'm going to pick the best bits from NXT. There wasn't a massive amount. It was kind of a mid NXT show, just kind of a normal one. But as I sit and watch it, I'm thinking to myself, yes, they're going to be able to keep people that have been watching it for years, like me and Jordan. But the reality of it is, unfortunately, unless they change things up, they're not going to get many more viewers that are randomly going to stumble upon NXT and keep watching it, which is a shame because their roster's completely stacked at the minute. Obafemi obviously comes out to start the show. He puts over Trick Williams, who I think will be moving up to the main roster in the Rumble. Mocks Eddie Thorpe, but then Tony D'Angelo turns up and reminds him that he holds a win over him. A match that I would like to see, two big, powerful wrestlers. So that would be good. But it was weird because Obafemi was then attacked by Eddie Thorpe with a leather strap. So it's a weird one because you've just got this dominant champ win the title in a triple threat at New Year's Evil. And then the first thing that he does is says, I'm going to take over now, but then gets hit with a leather strap and somehow just miraculously falls to the ground. So I don't know. It's not a great way to start your championship reign, but it was, I guess, a way to address multiple feuds. There was three matches that really meant absolutely nothing. Then there was a Shotzi versus Stephanie Vaca, which was a number one contender to the North America title. Shotzi wins that in what was an okay match. Nathan Fraser and Axiom faced OTM. I think it was one of the most mismatched tag matches ever because Nathan Fraser and Axiom are really small and nimble guys that fly around the ring. OTM are just massive brutes. But they did somehow manage to win. If they keep the title for much longer, they're going to be all-time holders of the tag team title, I'm sure. The really interesting bit about the show, though, which kind of shows you how uneventful it was, before this final segment, a mystery person did come out of a taxi, and that was it. It kind of cut back to the main event of the evening, which wasn't a main event. It was a match. It wasn't even a match. Like I said before, Roxanne Perez came out to address the future. She said she's proud of helping make the NXT women's division the best in pro wrestling. I've been telling that to people for weeks. Bayley showed up to surprise her and gave her a pep talk, but Perez was having none of it, and it ended up with a fight. So this is kind of my hope, is that they're now finishing off or looking to finish off the storylines that they've got, amid obviously lots of them potentially going up to the main roster with it being Royal Rumble season. But if they're going to get new viewers, they kind of need to up their game. Obviously, like I say, NXT faithful will stand strong. Like you mentioned last week, I think it was yourself, wasn't it, Humza, about the NXT crowd? Am I right in saying that? They're going to stay. But obviously the whole point of this Netflix era is to bring more people in. So obviously that will yet to be seen. So we went on to what was a bumper week for AEW. They had a Maximum Charge on both Dynamite and on Collision. Maximum Charge started off with Kenny Omega versus Brian Cage. As normal, every match that Kenny Omega wrestles in, he turns to gold. I think it's just something in his DNA that can't have, well, he probably has, but doesn't have many bad wrestling matches. After that was over, Don Callis sent out Lance Archer and Carl Fletcher. Will Ospreay obviously had something to say about that to make the save. But then Takeshita returned and took them both out. I'm going to ask this question to you because I know something else that will sway my answer. Do you think they're going to work together to take out the Don Callis family, or they're just going to go against each other? Humza.
knowing Tony Khan and his booking style, they're gonna do both. I think they're just gonna tag them together. They're gonna be like, all right, cool. We've repelled the Don Callis family threat for a little bit. Now we've just. It so happens that there's a big show next weekend. Let's fight. I mean, it's the most impromptu bout you've ever seen. But everyone's going to eat it up because it's going to be Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay. So I that's just my prediction for things. I like that Takeshita and Fletcher get a little bit of rub. They get to chime in on this, but this Don Callis family thing has been going on for a while, and honestly, like it just seems a little bit like what are we doing here? Don Callis was once like repping both Kenny and Will. And now they're fighting his new breed, and it's like, all right, cool. We'll see where it goes. But yeah,
kind of like AEW's answer to the bloodline. It's kind of like what you can do, will do as well. Like
there's a lot of that right now.
Yeah.
The AEW of the bloodline sounds hilarious.
Oh no, but it basically is. I've not thought about it until now, but it basically is. But yeah, obviously, I will go back onto, again, I'm finishing my other news stories at the same time because they all make sense. So Will did come out on Collision and basically said pretty much to what Unza has just said, is that that's the common that we have, is that we were once with Don Callis together. Let me get to where I have put that.
Would AEW be able to find like a Canadian wrestler or like a British wrestler that has a bunch of family that's also wrestlers?
Yeah, there's one, but I don't want to see him anywhere near. I
was going to say, I feel like it would be a great thing to do like their version of Bloodline, but like, you know, a Samoan family, we got that already. Let's find a Canadian family of wrestlers who are all wrestlers. They have a bunch of cousins and stuff just like that. And then you just do your own bloodline, but with like Edge's family or something. Like,
just do it with like a bunch of lucha libre and just like mask everyone up and say, yeah, no, they're all related.
Yeah,
and, like,
like
lucha libre in general is a very family orientated business. So
hey, there you go.
You got tons of
get the Guerreros. You know, I'm sure there's a bunch more of them with the wrestlers and their family. You know, just have them take over.
Oh, there's loads of that. That brings me on to another point. WWE have offered one of Steiner's sons a contract as well.
You said China?
No, Scott Steiner.
Oh, I thought you said China. Like I didn't know she had kids.
So apparently, this one he plays for an NFL team.
Okay.
A developmental contract, whether that's with ID or whatever they're calling this new developmental.
Do you know what team he plays for?
I have no idea. If you put in Scott Steiner, son NFL, I'm sure it'd be straight up.
Oh, okay. No, I know this kid. So he is in college right now. He's being recruited. Yeah, he's in college, but he plays for like a major college, like a D1 university. So he would probably get drafted in the NFL if he doesn't go to the WWE.
Interesting.
This is crazy.
They're both lucrative, obviously lucrative businesses in America that both have their shelf life in terms of how long.
And college football players get paid now, so he probably already makes over $1 million a year.
Wow. I didn't realize it was that.
Yeah, they made a rule a couple of years ago where college athletes can take on promotions, and it's called an NIL, so they can get contracts and deals based off their own names and likeness now. So most big name college athletes, especially somebody whose dad is already famous, they're already getting paid like over $1 million a year by some like random like local car companies or local places that want them to do a commercial.
So basically, he's just walking into frat parties, sat in the corner, just counting his money.
Pretty much these days, yeah. Like college athletes get paid so much money nowadays. It's like some of them, it's like, hey, do you really want to go pro at this point? Like, you already made the money.
Would you have Scott Steiner's son be any other way? Imagine his promos. I'm sure they're
oh my god, they're probably incredible.
Great experiences.
They're probably incredible.
But yeah, that was another bit of interesting news that I didn't even put on my other news. It just popped into my head that I saw today. So obviously to further that conversation, Kenny and Will are now face to face next week. So basically what will happen is they'll say, right, I know we both got massive egos. We've had amazing matches that if AEW managed to get anywhere near, then we'll be having a field day because they won't. But it's weird, isn't it? Because lots of people, if this does happen and they do face each other, some of these people that watch AEW are never going to see the two or three matches, two or three that they've had before this. It's two, isn't it?
I think two.
They're never going to have seen them, and you must stop what you're doing right now. Obviously, don't turn us off, obviously, but as soon as we're done, you need to go and watch and find both of those matches because they're just unbelievable. But yeah, that's what's going to happen. We have a comment, which is fantastic. Hassan. Okay. Apologies for absolutely butchering it then. Welcome to the chat. I don't believe I've seen your name before, so welcome. It's the first time you're here.
Happy New Year to you too, buddy.
Joining us. I'm not even the best at saying Happy New Year when it is Happy New Year and it's the day after. So
it's about 19 days after, so
yeah.
Hey, it's still a new year. He wants you to have a good one.
Yeah, exactly. Happy New Year, my guy. I hope it's a prosperous one for you.
Yeah, I
hope it all goes well, and you carry on watching us, which would be great.
Exactly, and even when it goes bad, just remember the good times and watch our videos.
Yeah, we can't tell you what day or time they'll be on. Likely to either be a Sunday or a Monday, but it could be different.
Just get real parasocial with us, bro. Start rescheduling your schedule to be our schedule. If you have family, just forget about them and just make us your new family. How about that?
I love that too. But yeah, make sure that there was a little warning to you if you're in the United States of America. Make sure you crack your phone so you can keep CapCut because that's doing for you as well. But
while we were doing this, I had to look up Phil Mora. I think that might be my new video editing thing. It feels the most similar, and I'm not a fan of Da Vinci so far. So
it kind of sounds like an 80s movie star at the same time.
Yeah, Phil Mora.
I did think it was before you said video editing software. I was about to go, well, what's he been in? But now I know it's a video editing app.
No, Phil Mora is a great actor. He was in all the great things.
Okay, fair enough. I'll go and check him out after this. So yeah, that was the start of AEW. Ricochet then came out to lots of boos. Obviously, that might be down to what he's been posting on X over the last couple of weeks. But yeah, it's not good. It's not a good look for him. So Swerve basically comes out to run him out of the arena. There was then a massive mess between the Hurt Syndicate and Private Party. The Hurt Syndicate took out Mark Briscoe before the match. And then it's weird. They're having these moments where obviously they've got to make the Hurt Syndicate look really strong and really powerful. But they're not working on how they actually work together as a tag team. They're just kind of throwing them into situations and hoping, because they're all very talented, that it will somehow work without thinking about how it will work. So, yeah, I think this is the biggest example of it being an absolute mess. But next week they do have a tag team title match against Private Party. So hopefully it will change, but we shall see. Next up, we had one of the worst, the weirdest, the most bizarre, the most horrific points of wrestling that I have ever seen in my life. It was a promo between MJF and Jeff Jarrett. Obviously, to fill you in last week, Devon, I don't know if you were on at this point, but basically Jeff Jarrett said to MJF, after MJF said, if I win the title or if you win the title, can I have the first shot? Jeff Jarrett basically said no. So this week we had a full-blown row between...
Wait, are we... Hold on. You're talking about Jeff Jarrett, like the 60-year-old guy?
Yes, with a guitar, how he's best known.
What is he doing for wrestling for titles?
Well, he said 2025 is his year, and he's going to go
for
out...
what? Retirement?
He said he wants to go out with a title win, and then he can happily retire. Is basically what he says. But this is where it gets absolutely wild. So, MJF interrupts Jeff Jarrett to ask why he turned him down. So he then tries to kind of low blow Jarrett without success. So then they turned up the heat a little bit. So he turned up the little heat on a little bit to kind of take digs at Owen Hart, which...
Why?
Every time this happens on anything to do with AEW, when somebody Martha Hart's probably sat in the crowd, the times they've done stupid shit when she's in the crowd is just beyond belief. But surely you have enough creative writers to not have to make jokes like this. Like, as I was writing this back, it didn't really sit well with me at all. Like, I don't know. I haven't got the words for it. They've done it so many times, and
it just doesn't. I guess it doesn't make sense. None of this that you've explained so far makes any good lick of sense. Like, what's next? Are we gonna have like Diamond Dallas Page come out and make promos against like Sting or something? Like, what's happening?
I mean, that's totally possible in AEW's.
Really show classes that he does now in his spare time, bless him.
Like, what's going on? We're gonna have freaking some random person come out and just start making fun of Chris Benoit's family at this point. Like,
that's totally gonna happen.
Like, why?
It's just, yeah.
Oh my god.
I don't get it. It gets even worse, though, to be fair. Well, I don't think it gets worse than that. I don't think it can. But in terms of its silliness, it gets even worse. So MJF starts calling out Karen Jarrett's history with Kurt Angle. He then threatened to seduce her after Jarrett is out of the picture. He also taunts him about his troubles that he's had with alcohol. This is all in the same promo, if you can fully believe this. I
believe it.
As I wrote it back, I just can't. And there's one more bit. There is one more bit. Jeff Jarrett then fires another low blow by calling out MJF's mother, who, on further inspection, I found out that he was doing this because she was once a call girl. And somebody called Alicia... That must be something to do with MJF. I didn't want to look any further into this madness. But the thing that stuck out for me is Jeff Jarrett's wife, although it was stupid, she has something to do with wrestling. MJF's mother and whoever this other person was have nothing to do with wrestling at all.
Wait, so is his mother is that like a storyline thing where his mother used to be a call girl, or is that like a fact?
It's real. No, it's real.
Oh my god! Why do we know that?
Well, the power of the internet tells us these things. Because I had to think to myself, well, why is this happening? Why is he calling out his mum and maybe a member of his family or whatever that might be? Because they can't defend themselves. They have nothing to do with wrestling at all.
Like, does she want that out there? Like, is she okay with her history being out there like that? Like, okay,
I don't know. Like, I don't bring this out very often. I only bring it out sometimes, but it feels like a completely correct moment to bring this.
You're a donut. You're so stupid. You're so stupid. You're stupid.
Because I don't know what else to say, to be honest. Like,
it's like his mom is like
this of this channel.
MJF is like I know, like he's from like New York or something.
Yeah.
So his mom's probably like one of those like, you know, like New York Jewish ladies, and like I feel like this is kind of going to be a bad rep on her and her like throughout like the whole community for real. Like anybody who knows MJF probably knows who his mom is, because feels like I know people like that from those areas, like New York and stuff like that. Like they're usually pretty close knit.
Yeah.
You know, they're usually pretty close to their family. The whole neighborhood pretty much knows them. I'm pretty sure he's from like Long Island, where it's not that big of a place. Like a lot of people know, most people from Long Island know everybody from Long Island. It's like one of those type of smaller cities that's outside of a major city. People know who MJF mom is. They know who she is. So this is kind of messed up.
Typical AEW. It's stupid. It's the only way they can like actually like get any kind of like tabloid relevance or anything. It's just by just go out there and shoot, brother, and see what happens.
Kind of tasteless. It's like when Big Show's dad died, and they're just like making fun of it. Like, hey, your dad's dead. Like, whoa. I get it, what we're doing here, but that's kind of messed up.
Yeah. As I think back about it, I take back everything that I've said and what I was going to say about AEW staying in the lane on when obviously WWE and the hype's there with them at the moment. So they've kind of thought, right, what can we do to stay level? But it kind of goes back, that almost this moment in time almost kind of goes back to what we were speaking about last year, when we were thinking, right, AEW are very close to something seriously bad happening in terms of somebody getting seriously injured. And it when we had that whole point of, obviously that was when all the CM Punk stuff came out and stuff like that. And then they went into that kind of pandemonium panic for like a couple of months. It almost kind of reminds me of that. Right, what? I don't know. It's one of those things. Am I surprised? No. Am I disappointed? Massively. But hey ho.
I mean, I've seen things in wrestling go a little bit too far for my liking in both companies. You know, I feel like this may be a slight step too far, even though I don't know the person. But if it's like now you're bringing up people's families' real history, is kind of a wild thing to bring up in wrestling. Like if you bring up that wrestler's history, real history, it's kind of crossing the line. Like when CM Punk brought up like Jeff Hardy's like addiction problems and trying to get over it, it's like, well, that kind of crosses the line, right? Like he's probably actively still struggling with that, and we're doing this all for like a show right now. Y'all don't actually hate each other. That's crazy. Or when like Edge is actually trying to bang Lita on the freaking thing, where it's like, okay, you guys actually got, like, you guys were actually best friends, like really close friends, and then you actually did cheat with his girl, and now they're bringing it into the storyline. As crazy as that storyline was, and as much as it made Edge pop off, like a part of me is like, yo, that kind of went way too far, because Matt Hardy is like I've been through a breakup before for somebody I've been in a relationship with years. It's crazy to actually be like, yo, now I'm about to like pretend to, fight her boyfriend. Like, no, I'd probably really mess him up for real. Like if something like that happened to me, and now we got to work together. Like, yo, I don't know if I could do this. Shout out to Matt Hardy, but there's just things that go a little bit too far. I feel like this is like staring into that category. I'm not saying it's that as far as those other examples, but it feels like it's staring into that category where like MJF might get a call from his mom, be like, "Yo, what the fuck?" And then he might have to use some of that energy to be like, "Yo, Tony, why did we have to do that? Why did you, like who allowed that person to say that?" You know? And now it might come back to like, well, I'm gonna say something crazier about his people, and maybe it goes to a point where somebody says something where it's like, yo, that was 100% uncalled for, and now somebody's like, hey, let me get my receipt in the ring, and now we got receipts in the ring with AEW, which is already like people are damn near dying off of the dumbest stunts anyway. Last thing you need in those situations is somebody giving out receipts.
Yeah, I think I'm, as much as I had to have that moment because I had to all get that off the chest. There was after that some good parts of the show. So the good parts of the show was the women's casino gauntlet. There was a debut in this gauntlet. There wasn't in the men's. The men's last week was just everybody run of the mill.
Mm-hmm.
But we had a debut of Megan Bain. She competed in AEW a few years ago, but has been since competing in Stardom. So that's good. A new face is always good, and I hope that AEW take that on board of the reaction that got, and realise that these gauntlet matches are kind of like their mini Royal Rumbles now. So in order to make them relevant and good, they need to change it up a little bit. So hopefully that's going to be the kick on. Toni Storm did win it though. Obviously, she goes into the Grand Slam. It's not even a pay-per-view. It's just going to be a weekly show now in Australia. And to follow on to that on Collision, she then said that, I'm hoping it's not kayfabe and I'm hoping it's true. She said that this is really important to her because in this arena was the first place where she saw a wrestling match where she's going to be fighting Mariah May. I've put next to it, if it's kayfabe or not, it's a nice touch, but I really hope it's true.
I mean, I would hope they don't lie about something like that. That feels like a weird thing to lie about because so many wrestlers have that experience of like, hey, I'm wrestling in the place where I first saw my first show. So I feel like it would be a weird lie.
It is, but since we spoke about the last promo, nothing's off the table now. So
that's true.
So I don't actually know anymore. So that was apart from the main event, which was between Powerhouse Hobbs and Jon Moxley. As per Powerhouse Hobbs was kind of, but then the Death Riders got involved, saving Moxley. They then targeted and stomped on a repaired knee of Hobbs using a steel chair. I'm pleased they didn't get the plastic bag out to try and choke him again because I've seen that many more times. I'm going to physically scream. I know that was used last week, but it was stopped. So thankfully, it wasn't in one of the corners of the ring this time. And then Rated FTR clearly didn't get the call quick enough because they tried to make the save, but were way too late and just allowed them to do that. So, yeah, there were some good moments and some really bad ones. So to go quickly over to Collision, starting off with a bit of my other news. So there was a Texas death match between Hangman Adam Page and why is it completely Christopher Daniels. So this was taped on Thursday, but came to us on Saturday with the belief that this is Christopher Daniels' last match, and he will then go on to retire. They said he's no longer part of the management structure at AEW, but do I believe that? Do I not? And I really don't. But yeah, this is his last match. There was blood early on with a chair shot. barbed wire was wrapped straight around the head and put into the mouth. There was ECW chants that always makes my heart happy. He was basically getting brutalized. He then pulled off a Uranagi to put Hangman through the barbed wire table. There was more barbed wire jabbing from Hangman, but he wrapped it around his arm, but it backfires into a submission from Christopher Daniels. There was a best moonsault ever, which my instant thought was, why are you stealing Tiffany Stratton's move? That was on. He did it twice, actually.
Shout out to the GOAT, Tiffany Stratton.
Yeah, so they wanted to do it one more time than she managed on SmackDown. So they just decided that they would do it twice.
I feel like you almost
Stratton 316 is going to hit 3 of them.
I was going to say, it feels like you almost never hear about men taking women's moves, but
nah,
that's why Tiffany's the best.
And the second one, though, was a little bit different, and they did it with a half-broken table on Hangman Adam Page. Hangman Adam Page then hit a tombstone on the chair, and then followed that by a deadeye on a chair. So he decided that wasn't enough. So he did what I've probably seen as the most aggressive buckshot lariat that I've seen in quite a while to put him down and pick up the win. Halfway through this match, I was thinking, what a horrendous match for you to end your career on, because you're getting absolutely battered. But towards the end, he did come back into it a little bit. I just think when it was a match that didn't mean anything and it's your last match, surely they should have let him just win it. Like, it's not going to hurt Hangman Adam Page if he loses once. So, yeah, I don't know about you, but that's what I kind of felt. There was then an Okada versus Ishii match for Okada's title. But of course, Okada retains. I don't see him ever losing that title. But yeah, that brings me to my kind of other news, which I've only got a few now because I've used most of them. So Christopher Daniels last match I've used. Kenny and Will next week I've used. Braun Breaker and Sheamus was announced for, I put Friday night's main event here, Saturday night's main event, obviously with Jay and Gunther and Braun and Tama Tonga being the other. Solo's plans we spoke about, but the only thing we haven't spoke about, I guess, is the exciting news of the TNA and NXT merger they've got. In our group chat to paint a picture, one person sent the picture, the next person sent the picture, and then I was the third person to send exactly the same picture. None of us checked that each other had already posted this. But I thought it was great because I went in and I thought, well, there's 2 people already put it on. There's 2 messages. I don't know what they are. And I saw it and then I posted it and I went, so we've got 3 of exactly the same message now.
I feel like going back and posting it again right now after knowing it's already been posted 3 times.
I guess I kind of ask both of your thoughts. Obviously, we've kind of had this little bit of a crossover already with NXT and TNA. With obviously the various times that Joe Hendry's come out, and then we've never seen him again since. But I'm going to start with you, Devon. What are your thoughts around this one?
I mean, I like the idea. I mean, I already like the idea that TNA stars were interacting with WWE, even going back to what was like the last Royal Rumble we watched, where we had the TNA World Women's Champion come out and actually put on one of the best performances of the entire night when she was out in there. So, you know, I think it'll be good to, and also helps, I guess, helps more develop if they're merging. I do have a question though. Are they going to keep both shows going, like NXT and TNA? Okay, then it could be a really good thing. Like, honestly, in my head, I'm thinking of, you have your major SmackDown and Raw. Now you have your minor NXT and TNA. So you can actually have people on both sides competing against each other on a smaller scale of what Raw and SmackDown do. And then also you can bring them up into Raw or SmackDown at any point, or have Raw or SmackDown guys go down to them and put on a good show, make everybody better. It's like it helps infuse the company with more talent, but also helps those companies, because now you'll get maybe a couple more WWE resources for TNA. Maybe you might have a couple of more legends pop up in TNA, like we saw. Who was it? Like Bradshaw? Didn't he pop up on like TNA or something? Might have some other cool stuff like that, which could help the TNA brand. Like people just be like, hey, I might go to a show because I never know who might show up. I might see Rey Mysterio randomly on a TNA show, and that would be cool. And also, I think Hardys are signed to TNA, right? So that pretty much brings them into a lane to come back to WWE, retire with some WWE gold on their belt or something. I do want Jeff and Jeff Hardy especially, to just like retire. I love them, and I hate seeing them continuing on, kind of like doing what they're doing now. I just want to see them retire and be happy. Get a podcast or something.
They do hold the titles on TNA at the moment as well.
Yeah, get the old school, get the WWE Tag Team Champs one more time, and then out to the sunset with those two.
So there's obviously lots of rumors floating about. I hope, as you just spoke, I hope that's the way in which they do it. The cynical side of my brain just hopes that they don't just nick everybody that TNA has got and just quickly transfer over to WWE. That sounds horrible, but that's what I saw when this whole partnership thing started way back. So I hope they're doing it with the right reasons, like you said, to better everyone. But that we shall find out. I have heard today, again, it's a rumor, it's not been confirmed, that TNA are debating whether to put their shows to Full Sail, where NXT hold their shows currently. In I guess kind of a solidarity kind of thing. Like, if we're going to share wrestlers, we may as well try and share fans. And I hope that's again what it is. But yeah, I guess away from my cynical side, what are your thoughts, on this whole thing?
Well, I think whenever it comes down to the sport of pro wrestling, talent pools are always important. I mean, we're dealing with individual contractors here, so whatever's fresh is going to change on a weekly basis. Whatever needs to be revitalized changes all the time. So it's good to have more places to send people, get different sets of eyes on them, bring them in rotation, out of rotation, and just, as Devon said, like literally building everyone up together. But it could also just be used as a way to snipe a bunch of talent, get a bunch of people, and just But I think it's the right move, because it's kind of recouping some of the losses from the Vince McMahon era, where Vince literally let go of everybody that Triple H was elevating to be, at the top of the company right now, let's say. So at least he's able to get a lot of people back. And because I think like that's been the biggest problem for WWE, like in the long term, is the massive talent drought on top of the mass releases. So at least with this TNA injection, you get some more life back into it. I mean, you can bring people like Nick Nemeth, Dolph Ziggler. He can make an appearance, show up in a Royal Rumble, something like that. All kinds of expanded possibilities, considering we're not working with New Japan or AEW or CMLL talent or whatever. So, I think it's good.
I feel like WWE never actually had a talent pool problem. They just had a problem because the talent that they have didn't fit the criteria of what Vince wanted the champ to look like. Like, Vince always been a guy who wants a specific type of champ, but he wouldn't give people like Dolph Ziggler a chance to be like,
for sure,
a long-reigning world champ or something like that. Like, there's so many, more. We could have more Randy Orton title shots. Honestly, I would have been happy with that than, John Cena, but that's just me personally,
Yeah, it's So just to read just a little bit of what the partnership was, I think we kind of mentioned it. So NXT and TNA superstars will appear across both weekly WWE and TNA programmings, WWE premium live events. This is a bit where it's a little bit weird because it says NXT superstars and TNA wrestlers will go across their weekly shows, but then by opening up premium live events, kind of means that they can appear anywhere in this world of WWE and TNA pay per views. Obviously, it's interesting because, like I say, TNA have Genesis on this evening. On the actual match card, they've got no one from NXT. But since this has been announced, NXT has come underneath the TNA Genesis bit now. So I imagine we'll have a few surprises there.
I imagine when they do bring them up, like a lot of the TNA and NXT people, when they do make their first appearance on the big stage, they're going to be like jobbers almost. Maybe like a decent jobber, but mostly hey, you come on here, put on a good show, lose to one of our bigger superstars, and then maybe go back. Maybe we'll bring somebody, like a mid-carder down there, and then we'll have you beat him, type of deal.
Theorizing on what we were speaking about on SmackDown, though, does that fit somewhere into that? In that,
I mean, I feel like it could be great if they brought these TNA guys or NXT guys onto SmackDown, where it's going to have not like the bigger audience, but it's going to have more people who maybe have access to watch it. Because the SmackDown, I don't know for you guys, but I think SmackDown might still come on basic television here. So just having that access to people who don't actually have I don't have Netflix type people, you'll still give them an opportunity to see wrestlers, especially from other brands, come on and put on a good show. So if it were up to me, I would have them, especially maybe come on SmackDown every once in a while, go to Raw because it's on Netflix. It's already a paid thing, so people already are paying money to see specific types of people. Maybe you have them come on SmackDown, put on a good show, have a couple of them come up on Raw, put on a good maybe the first one or two matches involve somebody from one of those type of crews, maybe win, maybe not, but still have a good show, and it works out for everybody. But that's just how I would do it.
Yeah, I think it certainly opens lots of doors and lots of conversations, doesn't it? So other than that, I think that's pretty much it, apart from it being a multi-year partnership. I don't know what happens in terms of when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, does this mean that TNA is going to be coming onto Netflix as well? but I don't think it is. That's going to stay where it was, certainly in America anyway, because it's not on TV in the UK at all. I don't think. Am I right in saying that?
Not that I know of.
Yeah. So I think it's on the completely legal sources of the internet that you can find TNA if you're from the UK.
Yeah, I had to use one of those sites the other day because the other completely legal site went down. Because the guy's taking a break or something. So,
oh really?
Yeah. Luckily, I was sent multiple from you guys the first day. So
I can't say that I did send them. It was.
Oh no, not you.
It's the FBI. They're kicking down.
Wait, who's the British version of the FBI?
What? Yeah.
It's Dana White. He's just stumbling in because he's trying to end the war. Even if no one else will follow him, he's going to end the war on illegal streaming himself.
Well, okay. If you two could fill a couple of minutes for me, that would be great.
Yeah, that's all good. Okay, Dana White got him. All right.
Yeah, so, we got him. We were going too far with it. I'm sorry. Wait. Okay. But I don't know what the last thing he honestly said was, but I feel like Yeah, I just feel like this is going to be a pretty decent idea for TNA and WWE. Hopefully, they do it the right way. I just don't want them to like. I don't want them to do it like in a weird way where they're just TNA people come up there and just only lose. But I don't see it where they're going to bring them on, have them win a lot.
I think we've already seen like a kind of like symbiosis of TNA and WWE like slowly drip fed to us over the past few years. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's not anything that's like really drop kicked anyone's expectations. So, oh wow, didn't see that coming. But I think you're absolutely on the money. As long as it's not a one-sided affair, it should be quite a good acquisition.
I think I'd be more nervous if Vince was still in charge. Like now that I know he's not, I'm like, okay, maybe they'll actually do the right thing. Maybe they'll give these people the right opportunity because they know it's better for the fans if you do it this way.
Yeah, so my time is up. I now can't access those websites else.
Darn.
They're going to be on to me a little bit more, so yeah.
They took him to the side.
Yeah, they've told me a little telling off. It's good to see you, Stussy. I haven't seen you in here since we've started up again this year. Hope your Christmas and New Year's was good and stuff. Nice to know that after all these years, The Rock is still holding the WrestleMania main event hostage.
He's holding the whole company hostage of an Uzi right now. Him and his entire family. They've got a whole chain of command, and they've all got individual bullets that they just move up the chain to The Rock as he decimates the entire board of directors. Because it seems this company is the Dwayne Johnson or whatever he wants to do when he's not recording movies show. So yeah, absolutely agree with you. What are you guys gonna say about that? Because yeah, The Rock.
I'm hoping that the only thing he gets this year at WrestleMania is maybe like a welcome to WrestleMania like he does normally. But yeah, somehow he'll write himself into some storyline because obviously everybody's going a little bit mad at him in the minute. But oh yeah, you've just gone against everything that you've done last year. So he'll find a way to put himself in somehow, I'm sure.
I think it would be great if he came out trying to sell his tequila and he's got Jimmy Hart behind him with a megaphone and everyone's just booing the shit out
Yeah,
of him.
brother.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
that'd be a good
Well, the thing is, people don't like The Rock, but they don't hate The Rock like Hulk Hogan. There's a clear difference. They just think The Rock is corny and fake, but like they think that plus like extra for Hulk Hogan. It's like he's corny, he's fake, he is a habitual liar about all the craziest things. There's possible there's racism with him. There's so many more things that you can include with Hulk Hogan that you can only have like half the list for The Rock. So
I don't think it's possible that I think it's full blown that he is a not nice human being.
Yeah, no, he's an asshole. But like, I feel like if you had him and The Rock, or like The Rock and and Hulk Hogan in like one place, and people were like, okay, you have to boo one of them, and you have to like cheer for the other one. Which one are you doing? I feel like The Rock gets more cheers.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh, 100%. But you're not picking good people to go up against.
No. This is like picking the best smelling fart, but like it's still, one of them does still smell worse than the other.
So Punk and McIntyre was supposed to be the main event.
The bad blood.
Until Rock decided that he would be at the show to set up a triple threat with. Oh, okay, that makes sense. And then he's still stealing main events from Punk. But yeah, obviously,
wait, the bad blood, is that the one where they had that Hell in a Cell match?
It is.
Yeah.
Okay, that definitely should have been the main event. We watched that together. We were all like, "Yo, why is this going on first?"
Yeah. This is the season now where every man and his dog thinks that he knows every single match that's going to be on the WrestleMania card. And I'm really trying with all my might to not look into any of it because I don't want to know. I want to get excited like I used to get excited when I didn't know what was happening at WrestleMania. So, yeah.
So you don't want me to send you that thing I saw that had all the like Royal Rumble winner, like who's gonna eliminate who?
Yeah, we always get those fake ones every year where people think that they know 1 to 30 and
they think they know who's coming in last, who's winning, what order, who's taking out who. I was like, wow, this is a lot for y'all to not know this for a fact.
I do think in the group chat we should all like bring heads together, make our own, and then see how much.
Oh, God, I can't do that for 30 wrestlers.
We know the 1 to 30.
I'm just gonna be like number 1 eliminates number 2, number 3 eliminates number 1.
Yeah, it's getting to that point now. So I've booked the Monday after Royal Rumble off. So we shall either be doing a watch along or we shall all be watching it together, whoever is around.
Live stream it, or not the actual. Just live stream our reactions to the event. I don't think you're allowed to put the event on.
No, we would. All this work that we've done on these Sundays would go to mush if we showed 1 second of what was going on the screen.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's obviously something to look forward to. It's at the nice time because it was this time. It was obviously Royal Rumble last year that you and Kyle watched it, didn't we?
Yeah.
Nice time of. I think it was the same time last time on Netflix. I got really excited because it said Netflix at 11 o'clock is when it would start, and I was like, "Nah, you're lying." So I actually did some more digging, and no, it's still the same. It starts at 1 p.m. UK time. So that's why I booked the Monday off, even though it's on Saturday, because it's going to wreak havoc on my sleep schedule. But I really hope it's it.
Are all the pay-per-views are on Netflix too now?
Yeah, premium live events, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and then a bit of their back catalogue at the moment. But we've still got the wonderful half a screen for 90% of the shows, which is the most frustrating thing and leaves me so glad that I've still got all my DVDs, so I don't have to watch WrestleMania 22 on a quarter of my screen and think that, it's one of those. But yeah, I think we've kind of reached. Oh, the only thing that I've missed out is that Corey Graves posted on Twitter this week and was slating WWE for all his hard work, and it's basically not been recognised. First of all, people were saying maybe he's had a fallout and he's been pulled from WWE, or maybe it's an act for a wrestling return. I guess we'll find that one out. But they were pretty damning comments, to be fair. One last comment before we go, if it stays up there. Triple Threat isn't happening anymore since Rock backed out because it wouldn't have gone his way. And in the title picture?
I think like in the Cody and Roman.
Okay.
Yeah, because The Rock, ain't no way The Rock's winning a world championship, bro. Like,
he's already the people's champion, isn't it? Muhammad Ali's wife's decreed it, and everyone knows Muhammad Ali's wife is the gatekeeper, is the greatest athletes in the
which wife? Bro was married like several times. Yeah,
but they all have different championships, didn't it? You got to
say that's like 9 kids. Like, are we which wife are we talking about here?
Yeah, you collect them all. It's like Dragon Ball, and you get to summon the dragon to make a wish, and you get to put in the WrestleMania sign.
And also, maybe it'd be better if we like knew that The Rock and his Muhammad Ali's wife had like any history of knowing each other ever. Like I've never even known that they knew each other until he popped out with this belt. Like, yeah, she gave it to me. Like, when did she do that?
Everybody knows Muhammad Ali's wife. To tell me that I'm gonna speak now, come on. Everybody knows.
Like, why is she giving out championship belts to The Rock? Like, hey, you sure The Rock didn't do that himself? It feels like something he would have did. No. Muhammad Ali's wife came in here and she was like, yeah, I need a belt for The Rock specifically. He's the people's champ.
Before we get taken off air completely, I'll move swiftly on.
The Rock's people are coming in.
I've already had one run in today. I don't fancy another. But yeah,
Imagine that Dana
where
White
we,
and The Rock in one
we
day.
leave-
That'd be evil.
I know. Paul Bearer was a couple of weeks ago because I had a ghost in the house and Lee said it's Paul Bearer and I was like, actually, I'd be well up for that. So on that note, when I find my little banner, I shall pass you across to this man that now doesn't have CapCut and is wondering what to do next.
Well, the next step will be using Filmora, guys. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. But yeah, new videos are still going to be on the way. Just put out a video yesterday if you guys are interested in why you wouldn't survive in ancient Rome. Fun video, even I'm just all the videos are just really entertaining and fun. Go ahead and check them out. Go to that YouTube, put that name in YouTube, search it, subscribe to it. You can put that name in Google and I'll be the first person to pop up. We've done the research on this. Sam's already verified this for a fact. So have fun, check it out. I do all types of fun stuff, all types of different things on there that are similar to like reacting and stuff, but I promise you, they're like the best reactions you've ever seen in your life. You've literally, if you've enjoyed any of the time I've been on here for the last almost 2 hours, then you're gonna love where I just do this the whole time on my channel. Sam's been there. He knows. He'll tell you.
Yeah, how many are you away from 1,000 now?
Like 60, 60 pretty much.
Okay.
Give me 60 more subs and we'll be there.
Let's make it happen.
That can be done, and then we can do like a dual celebration stream where it goes.
I have a 1,000 subscriber live stream, and maybe I'll tell you what YouTube will do in the videos every time I cut that part out. Maybe you'll get a full video of all the compilations of times where I actually do go on like a 1-minute rant of what YouTube will do to me if you don't subscribe, and I cut it out in every single video. And maybe for 1,000, there'll be a whole compilation of me actually saying all the things that YouTube will do to me. Because I do go off on those rants for quite a while. And I cut them out every single time.
Does CapCut affect your use of merchandise and cups or?
No. Right now, merchandise that I have on hand, I have the sticker. Unfortunately, somebody else actually started using cups. Believe it or not, I didn't give them permission to make this cup, but they did. So apparently other people have used cups now. I'm not the first person, or I'm not like the only person in the world who has cups now. Other companies have stole my idea and I didn't get the credit for it.
Well, you got the
But they
original
won't have
cup.
your logo on
Yeah,
it.
I was the first person to have a cup.
They won't have your logo on it, so it's not really the same.
It's not official, no, but it's still a violation of my copyrights of cup design.
Yeah, unfortunately, WWE have done the same to this channel quite a few times, and then the week later they've done it as well. So,
you guys can still get stickers though. I got stickers. I got plenty of stuff. Go to the website. Go to the link that I have on my channel where it has a whole shop full of stuff, shirts. A lot of people never even heard of shirts before until they saw my store. And they're like, wait, I could like my nipples don't have to be out all day. And I was like, no, bro, they don't. You could just cover that thing up. Cover them bad boys up, buddy. And they're like, whoa, this is
little
more
secret.
convenient.
He did let us know that this would be the next invention, so we also made our own merch store.
Let's go.
In the description.
Let's go.
We have many hoodies, t-shirts there that are available in various different designs. So yeah, other than that, Hamza, have you got anything that you would like to say to the people?
Just have a good one. Until the next time, I've got nothing to plug apart from good times, good wrestling, good people.
Hey, I love plugging good people.
That's our Patreon there. We have an Instagram that I've told you about the merch. That's where you can find me. But in all my time on YouTube for the last 2 or 3 years, I don't think I've had a single person that follows me from me putting my Instagram or my Twitter handles up. So, but on that note, we shall be back, of course, with hopefully a lot less ranting next time out. So, see you all
Or
next
more,
time.
depending on
No,
what
we
you
gotta
like.
double down. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's hope
Twice as
not.
much ranting.
We shall find out, I guess. Bye all.
4-hour podcast.